Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos. I'm the Reverend John Cullinan, your minister here. As Unitarian Universalists, we affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of all people and gather together in a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are at this moment, at home or here in the sanctuary, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome to be a part of this community. I want to extend a special welcome this morning to any visitors or first-time guests we have among us. I would love to meet you after the service and answer any questions, introduce myself. You'll find me in the fellowship hall with a cup of coffee, along with most of the rest of the church, because that's our sacrament. If you're a new parent, I encourage you to have a chat with the Reverend Tina DeYoe sitting up there in the front row. She can tell you all about our children's and adult education opportunities here. We have a corner over here where you can light candles for people you are thinking of that you want to keep in your thoughts and prayers during the week. If you want them mentioned during the meditation time of the service, you can write it down in the book there, and I will share them during that time. That is there for you every week. Our restrooms are just up the hallway and off to your left. And again, please join us for coffee and conversation afterwards. And now would you all please take a moment to get centered for worship today. Feel yourself grounded where you are. Feel yourself connected to everyone around you. Take a deep breath in and out. And let us begin. My beloved people, I cannot pretend, and so I will not tell you that everything is okay right now. That there is no reason to be angry, that you must be optimistic or at peace. I cannot pretend these things, and so I won't tell them to you. But now our chalice is lit, and so all I ask in this moment is that we remember the words of Rebecca Parker. There is a love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all. By the light of our chalice, let us rest in this love. Please rise in body or spirit and join in our opening hymn, number 1064. Please remain standing and join in our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all. Please be seated. A candle has been lit this morning for family, for love, for all our joys and all our sorrows, whether we share them aloud with one another or we hold them close and quiet in our hearts. Let us be together now in a moment of silence. Eternal and beloved, gracious source of all life and all love, we come together this morning grateful for this time out of time, which we have set apart so that we might become more fully present to our own selves, to each other, to that which we call holy. May our joys be celebrated together, our wounds be healed together, our hearts be opened together. We give thanks this day for the gifts and the graces, large and small, that we have received this week. We rejoice in the love that binds us together and that has called us here again to be present to one another. We acknowledge, too, those times where we have felt an absence of grace and gifts in our lives. We come into each other's loving presence with a need to cry out for help. May the source of love give us the strength to speak our needs and to speak out for the needs of others. May the Spirit of life give us the vision to meet the world as it is and the faith to create the world we hope to see. For these and for all our joys and sorrows, both spoken and held silent, we offer this prayer. In the names of those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten, in the names of all the helpers of humankind. Amen.
All of the young and young at heart to come forward, come up here in our worshiping space for a Time for All Ages story. So you guys can come up. Hey, Nina, come on up. Yeah, is that Otto and Ari? Hey, guys. Hey, you guys. All right, so this morning, we're going to talk about a really cool subject that I love a lot, and it's love. What? Oh my gosh. Okay, so who likes to love people or love pets or love other things? Yeah? Awesome. So we're going to be talking about this thing called unconditional love. And there's lots of teachers of what love is in our lives, right? So sometimes we have our parents and our caregivers, and they teach us about love. And you know who's really good at teaching about unconditional love? Pets. Especially dogs. My dog especially, yes, right? Yeah, so our dogs, our cats, our pets, they love us no matter what, right? Like, most of the time, I think, maybe. I know my dog and Eric's dog, yes, loves us a lot, unconditionally. So this morning, we're going to be talking about love, and you're going to hear our minister, John, talk about love. And we're going to tell this story about this other minister who was a Universalist minister 200 years ago, and he got taught love by his father. So this is a story about a man named Hosea Ballou. That's him right there. He became a minister, like John, like me. Yeah. So he was a Universalist minister. So this is a story about him when he was like your guys' age, okay? And how he learned about love. So over 200 years ago, in a small house in a small town on the edge of a forest of very big trees in the state of New Hampshire, there lived a small boy. His name was Hosea Ballou. Hosea, just like other children, maybe like you guys, like to learn and do new things. Do you guys like to do new things and learn things? Yeah? He was always asking questions about what and why and how. Do you guys ask questions? Yeah. And just like, no, not all the time. Just like other children, Hosea liked to play. Who likes to play? Raise your hand. Yeah, I do. Yes. He liked to play hide and seek with his 9 older brothers and sisters. He liked to play word games inside when it was raining. And he liked to play tag outside when it was sunny. In the winter, he liked to jump in snowdrifts. In the summer, he liked to jump into the creek. In the fall, he liked to jump into piles of leaves. And in the spring, why, spring was Hosea's favorite season of all. Because in the spring, it would rain and rain and rain, and then Hosea could jump into the mud. Who likes to jump in the mud? Anyone? You guys do? Oh, yeah. All right, Hosea, just like other children, loved mud. He liked it when it was soft and squishy, and he liked it when it was thick and sticky. If it didn't rain quite enough, that wasn't a problem. Hosea would carry water to the dirt and create glorious mud puddles all of his own. He liked to poke sticks into the puddles and see how the mud was. Exactly. He liked to make mud pies. Ooh, do you like make mud pies ever? And to build mud dams. He liked to jump in puddles hard with both feet and make the muddy water splash really high so that the mud splattered all over his brother and sister's clothes. And he loved to step in puddles very slowly so that the mud oozed up just a little bit at a time between his toes. Ooh. Yes, Hosea loved mud. Now, you can imagine that not everybody in his family liked mud quite as much as Hosea did. His mother had died when he was not quite 2, so his older sisters took care of him. His sister, who did the laundry and scrubbed the family's dirty clothes in big wash tubs, didn't like having to scrub all that mud off of Hosea's clothes, or off of everybody else's clothes either after Hosea had stomped in the mud puddle extra hard and got it all over his siblings' clothes, right? So his other older sister, who kept the little children clean, didn't like having to scrub all that mud off Hosea. And Hosea, just like other children, didn't like having baths either, especially when it meant he had to stand in a wash tub in front of the fire and have water dumped over his head. But his sister loved him, so they took him home and washed him and dried him and made him clean. Then Hosea's sisters went to their father and said, "Father, please tell Hosea to stop playing in the mud." "Hosea," said his father very sternly, "you should not play in the mud." "Why?" asked Hosea, because just like other children, asking questions was another thing he loved to do. "Because," said his father, who was one of the preachers in the Baptist church the family went to, "just as we try to live a good life, to be kind to other people, we try to stay clean too." "Yes, Father," Hosea said, and after that day, he indeed tried to stay clean. But it wasn't easy. Yeah, tried, yep. He stopped stomping in the mud puddles on purpose and splashing the muddy water everywhere, and he stopped making enormous mud pies, but sometimes the mud was just there. Then he had to walk through the mud to get across the yard to gather the eggs from the chickens. He had to walk in the mud to feed the pigs. And sometimes he was already muddy from doing his chores. He played in the mud just a little bit and got even muddier just a little bit. His sisters, who loved him, took him home and washed him again and dried him and made him clean. But Hosea's sisters went to their father again and said, "Father, please tell Hosea to stop playing in the mud." "Hosea," said his father, even more sternly, "you must not play in the mud." "Yes, Father," Hosea said. He was sad because he had truly tried to not get muddy. "Yep. Are you very angry with me, Father?" "I'm a little disappointed, Hosea, and I'm a little angry." Hosea hung his head and kicked at the dirt with his toes, and then he dared to look up just a little to ask, "Do you still love me?" "Hosea," said his father, and his father didn't sound stern anymore, "I will always love you, Hosea, no matter what you do. Even if I get muddy again? Yes. Even if I get really muddy again? Yes. Even if I get mud all the way up to my eyebrows and between my fingers and my toes and my hair? Even then," said his father with a smile. And then he added very, very sternly again, "But remember, Hosea, you must try to stay clean. Try." So that is a story about that man when he was a boy learning about unconditional love, because his father was going to love him no matter what, right? No matter if he got muddy. So we're going to that's our story, and today we're going to make some really cool little fortune tellers of kindness that you can take home and tell people what you love about them, okay? So we're gonna do that today too. So thank you for coming up, and we'll make those over at the intention table.
Thank you. Good old Hosea Ballou. He really took his lesson from his father and ran with it. He blew that up to a universal size. The Universalists that he grew up meeting were very focused on the issue of life after death and what happens, and their Universalism was their theology of life after death. But Ballou took that all-encompassing universal love and started to preach a universalism more earthly. There's a story that goes, Hosea and a Baptist minister friend were riding horseback through the woods, traveling through the New Hampshire hills, and they were arguing about theology as they went on their way, as ministers are wont to do sometimes. And at one point, the Baptist minister looks over at Hosea and says, Brother Ballou, if I were a Universalist and feared not the fires of hell, I could hit you over the head, steal your horse and saddle, and ride away, and I would still go to heaven. And Hosea Ballou looked over at his friend and said, if you were a Universalist, if you believed as I did, the idea would never even occur to you. The universal love that Hosea Ballou came to understand is still the inheritance we have today, a big love at the center that we are not reflecting back on the source in any sort of praise, but we are letting ourselves be the hands, letting it flow out into the earth, being agents of that love. The Universalists who followed Ballou found themselves free enough from worrying about what came next that they were able to focus on the here and now and build a heaven on earth. And that's what they were called to do. And to some extent, that is still the call that we have as Unitarian Universalists today. We are paying forward some kind of love. Some of us may be uncertain of what that source of love is. Some of us might mythologize it in a cutesy way like I've been doing for the last few years. But it's what we're called to do today. Take that love and build something better on earth, here and now. Somehow, in all of our finiteness and all of our fallibility, try to recreate on earth a picture of something that is so infinite. It's hard to grasp in its entirety. And that infinite that we are building, the infinite we are trying to return to, is that great heart love, that big universal love. And if it sounds like I've preached this sermon before, I probably have. Really, this is the sermon. This is the one sermon. This is all I've got, friends. It's all about love. And I know maybe it gets old after a while. There's this linguistic concept called semantic satiation, where if you say a word over and over again often enough, it loses all meaning. I know we're in danger of making that word lose all meaning, which ironically means that we need to keep talking about the word and defining it and giving images of what it means and examples of how people have lived. This is the one sermon. So what is this love, this big love? I've had plenty of my own words to say about it over the years, but I thought I would give you a few examples from some other thinkers, trying to give you a grasp of just how big and just how universal and just how unlimited this love is. Erich Fromm, the German psychologist and philosopher, had this to say: love is not primarily a relationship to a specific person. And we're entering the Valentine's season, I know, and that's going to be all the focus we have on love right now. We're going to romanticize the heck out of it. But love is not primarily a relationship to a specific person. It is, he says, an attitude, an orientation of character, which determines the relatedness of a person to the world as a whole, not toward one object of love. If a person loves only one other person and is indifferent to the rest of his fellow human beings, his love is not love, but a symbiotic attachment, an enlarged egotism. And taking that attitude and orientation further, M. Scott Peck, and the American psychiatrist, in his book, The Road Less Traveled, says love is an act of will. Namely, it is both an intention and an action. And will also implies a choice. We do not have to love. Nobody can make us, really. We choose to love, he says. And then finally this from James Baldwin: the longer I live, the more deeply I learn that love, whether we call it friendship or family or romance, love is the work of mirroring and magnifying each other's light. Gentle work, steadfast work, life-saving work in those moments when life and shame and sorrow occlude our own light from our view. But there is still a clear-eyed, loving person to beam it back at us. And in our best moments, we are that person for another. An orientation, an act of will, a choice to mirror and magnify the light that we see in others and that we can find within ourselves. And it's that choice that matters. If love is indeed unlimited, it is because of the way we are choosing and choosing again over and over to have that attitude of love, to have that attitude spread out over all that we know and encounter, rather than just a single focused act towards one person or one thing. It is a wide-angle focus, drawing in all that it can. And it is that focus that puts love at the center of all we do as Unitarian Universalists. All of our values, everything we strive for, comes from that place of big, universal love that we have chosen to act as the hands of in the world. Which is why it is reflected in the proposed revision to our principles and purpose. It is why we have named love at the center of all of our values. This image was created after the first draft of the revision came out, and it is a lovely visual representation of what it is we're actually all about, that big-hearted love at the center and all of our values flowing out and back in. So we are always coming back to love, to replenish and restore and do the work that it calls us to do. My colleague, the Reverend Tess Baumberger, writes, "This love that sits at the center of this image is not sentimental or romantic. It is the love we grow in our communities together, a deep and abiding love that affirms our worth no matter what we do or do not achieve or believe. This love is a belief in ourselves and in one another that nothing can rip apart. This love affirms our interdependence. It is a love that says we all deserve to be loved, whether we have been hurt or have hurt others. For some of us, the love at the center of this image includes a divine love that holds us tenderly and tightly. It is a fierce and protective and liberating love. It is a love calling us back to what Baloo was trying to get at all those centuries ago now. A love so big that all we can do with it is try to build it in some semblance of its infinitude on earth. We are trying to return to that call. Our theme for this month in Soul Matters is the gift of liberating love. And our themes this year are all pointed at the values as they are set up here on the screen. Love right at the center. Here we are, halfway through the church year. So let's talk about the thing that anchors it all together. You notice they said the gift of liberating love. Because that's indeed what it did for the Universalists of Hosea Ballou. It freed them from the fear of what came next so that they could focus on the here and now. The liberation that comes from our love is a product of all of our expressions. These are all our Unitarian Universalist love languages here. The work for justice, the work for equity, our interdependence, our pluralism, all of that are the love languages of our faith. It is the product of our expression, and it is liberating because it frees our own selves. Our choice to love frees us to do the work of justice and equity and interdependence, much as the early Universalists were free to focus here and now. And it's unlimited because we are doing that in community with one another. None of us is on the hook for fixing the whole thing. Choosing to love can be exhausting sometimes, depending on what you are trying to love in the moment, and sometimes somebody else can just pick that work up for us when we need a break, when we need to loop back into that renewing and restoring sense of love that we draw our strength from. And it is liberating in the sense that James Baldwin writes, to know that we are loved even when we cannot see it, and know that we are the one who is that source of mirror and magnification for somebody else. Ultimately, that big universal love, that unlimited love, is a chance to be who we are to our fullest, and to allow others to be as they know themselves. Angel Kyoto Williams is an American Zen priest and the second Black woman recognized as a teacher in the full Zen lineage. A few years ago, she did an interview with Krista Tippett in On Being. And in talking on the topic of love, she had this to say, and this is the one that got me this week. The way I think of love most often these days is that love is space. It is developing our own capacity for spaciousness within ourselves to allow others to be as they are. That is love. And that doesn't mean that we don't have hopes or wishes, that things changed or shifted, but that to come from a place of love is to be in acceptance of what is, even in the face of moving it towards something that is more whole, more just, more spacious for all of us. It is bigness. It's allowance. It's flexibility. And I wrote in highlighter across the whole paragraph, infinite. And it hit me. Here we are in our finitude and our fallibility, trying to build some image of a infinite love that we really can't grasp completely. And if we're going to do it, the closest we get to it is in allowing ourselves to develop that capacity for spaciousness, for who we are, for who others are, for the ability to let one another be. And in that facet, that love is not just unlimited. It is how we practice an unconditional love with the wide focus and the spaciousness in our hearts and souls to let the whole world just be. This is who we are called to be. We are being called back to the good old Hosea Ballou universal love, wherever that source may be for you. We are called to be people of the great heart. We are called to be the people who put love at the center of everything we do. Unconditional, universal, unlimited. Maybe so. As we prepare to return to our everyday lives, it is time to give something of the gifts of this community back to the larger community we are part of. It is time for the offering. During the month of January, all cash and undesignated funds we collect on Sundays will be given to our friends at the Espanola Pathway Shelter in support of their work on behalf of the homeless in Espanola and elsewhere. You may give through the Givelify app this morning, which you can get to on your phones with that QR code right there or in the baskets today. The offering will now be accepted. May what you give bring you joy and into deeper relationship with this community.
Keep
Amen. Here's what's coming up in the next few weeks, friends. The elementary overnight is taking place next weekend, January 27th and 28th, for all elementary age school children. You can register for that on the QR code on the left and talk to Reverend Tina for more details on what is happening there. That same Sunday, Joe Jenks returns to our sanctuary to lead us through our worship service at 10:30, and then he will be giving a full concert at 4 p.m. Tickets are $20 at the door for that. I hope you will join us for one or both events. He really is a great guitarist and singer, and very entertaining. On a related note, we are in search of an evening of home hospitality for Joe and his partner before they take off Monday for their next gig. If you are able to host them for a night, come talk to me in the fellowship hall, please. Following weekend, February 4th, we will have our committee fair after service. It's been a few years since we've done one of those, and it's about time. So if you want to learn about all the ways to get involved in the church community here and how you can help make this a bright and lively and vital place with your time and your talent, join us for that and come visit the tables in the fellowship hall that week. And then finally, we are starting our class of Adult Coming of Age on February 8th. That's a Thursday. It'll run for 6 Thursdays from 7 to 8:30. Much like our Youth Coming of Age, it is a chance for adults to spend some time going through some exercises, delving deep to figure out what they truly believe, and eventually sharing your credo statements or projects, just like our youth do, and you'll get a chance to do that on Coming of Age Sunday with the rest of the youth who are also going through this year. You can register on the QR code on the right for that, or also come talk to Tina or myself about that program. We've got a few people signed up already. There's room left, so come talk to us. And now, would you please rise once more in body or spirit and join in our closing hymn, Life Calls Us On. friends, may life bless us and keep us. May the light of life shine upon us and out from within us and be gracious to us and bring us peace. For this is the day. This is the one wild and precious life we have been given. So let us all find a way to rejoice and be glad in it. Go in peace.